When Americans imagine driving in Europe, they get really nervous when they think about the narrow, tight streets, or excited about racing down the German Autobahn. But what is driving in Germany really like? Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are two Americans currently living in Germany, with our baby sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. I've touched on driving differences between Germany and the US on my channel just a little bit before, and I try and just be honest and tell you how it really is by giving both the good and bad in both countries, in hopes that we can all learn from each other and one day hopefully create the ideal utopia of driving by taking the good of both places. However, between the two countries, I have been very clear about where I prefer to drive. Driving in Germany overall is a much more pleasant experience than driving in the US. I will admit that I believe German drivers are significantly better. Germans seem to be better overall drivers than Americans, and that driving in Germany seems to be a more pleasant and safer experience than driving in the US. Does that mean it's perfect in Germany? No. But what is it that makes driving in Germany so different from driving in the US? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today in my video. American Road Survivor, now a better German driver? Why are Germans the best drivers in the world according to Germans? Is it because of superior genetics? Is it because of their better engineered cars? No, it's because it's so freaking hard and expensive to become a driver here. Honestly, I wouldn't know about this because Germany literally just gave me a German driver's license, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. Of course, we all know how you can get a license quite a bit younger in the US than in Germany, but what it takes to get it is quite different. In Germany, you need to do a vision exam and a first aid course. Then you need to complete 21 hours of classroom time. Then you must do around 18 hours of driving time with an instructor. Depends on your driving abilities, could be more or less. Then you have to take a written exam that is notoriously hard. Then you have to pass a driving exam, and all of this will cost you between 2,500 and 4,500 euro. The cost alone, in theory, should make someone really respect the responsibility driving is and respect the investment they had to make to be able to drive. And then we have the US. Now, I always like to mention that we are originally from a state called Oklahoma and now live in the German state of Rheinland-Pfalz, and that some of these differences may be specific to these two places. Like, for example, the driver's license requirements vary from state to state in the US. So in Oklahoma, if you are over 18, you have to pass a written, driving, and vision exam, and you can get a driver's license. That's it. No classroom time or driving instructor requirements at all. And in the end, it only costs you $42.50. In Oklahoma, if you're under 18, getting a license gets a little more complicated, like when I got mine at 16. If you are under 16 and trying to get a learning permit, you must take a driver's education course that is 10 hours in total of classroom time and 6 hours of driving instruction that generally costs around $400. To get your license under 18, you must take a work zone safety course, which is a free 45 to 60-minute online course, and you must complete 50 hours of supervised driving. Doesn't necessarily have to be a driving instructor though. Then you have to pass the written, driving, and vision exam, and then you're good to get a driver's license. So this is when Germans leave their comments about how much better the rules and regulations around driving is in Germany, or how Americans shouldn't be allowed to drive in Germany, and where they get furious when I remind them that Germany literally just handed me a German driver's license without requiring any form of written or driving tests or hours in the classroom. There are some US states that have absolutely no reciprocity, and if you move to Germany with a license from one of those, you will basically have to go through the whole learning and testing process in Germany just like a German. There are some states with partial reciprocity, and you will just be required to take the written exam in Germany. Or there are some states like Oklahoma that has full reciprocity, and we can literally hand in our Oklahoma license and receive a German driving license. Stop Stop. Who wrote the script for this video? I don't want to talk about clothing. Oh, I see what you did there, because I do want to talk about zippers, but just not clothing zippers. I'm talking about Reißverschlussverfahren. Okay, imagine you were driving down the highway, you notice some signs for construction coming up ahead, and the left lane will soon be ending. What do? Well, in Germany, the answer is simple and genius. But in the US, specifically Oklahoma, it's a heated debate. No, really, Oklahomans actually debate this all the time.
Oh, this is a hot topic. What is the correct way to get out of a lane that's coming to an end? Well, we found there's no universal answer, but there's one method called the zipper merge that's gaining in popularity.
As a lane is ending in the US, for example, due to construction, most American drivers go ahead and merge over as soon as they see a lane will be ending. They'll then drive along way before the lane actually ends, but some cars will fly down that line all the way to where the construction zone actually begins, then merge over. For many American drivers, this is viewed as very rude and cutting in line.
I really get annoyed by drivers who actually do that. Because it's so rude.
Therefore, it is super common for some American drivers to drive in both lanes in order to block those line skippers, aka zipper mergers, from getting up to the front of the line. Now in Germany, I will admit this doesn't work 100% of the time, as you still have some knucklehead Germans who, even with all their fancy schmancy driving education, still don't seem to know how to drive. But it is written in black and white in the Straßenverkehrsordnung in paragraph 7, section 4, drivers exhaust the entirety of both lanes and then file in where the lane ends, just like a zipper. And the science doesn't lie.
Studies show traffic moves 35 to 40% faster when drivers zipper merge.
Zipper merging really is better and should be more common in the US.
California maintains it's better to early merge, saying the zipper merge is a recipe for rear-enders.
Okay, but California does everything backwards, so I can't expect them to get it right. But come on, Oklahoma, we gotta figure this out. Now let's run it the other way. Another cool feature of German driving rules is known as a Rettungsgasse. When, for example, an accident happens up ahead and cars are stopped in traffic, the cars will scoot as far over as possible on the outside of the road to make a lane up the middle for emergency vehicles to be able to quickly get down the road. In the US, we do usually have a larger shoulder on the side of the highway that emergency vehicles are able to drive down to get ahead of the traffic. Otherwise, it can be a slow game of, are those flashing lights coming up behind us? Where do I go? And the emergency vehicle finds their way down eventually. Germany has turned into a surveillance state with hidden cameras watching every move you make and reporting you to the police when you do something wrong. Well, no. Well, maybe? So in the US, I have been pulled over for speeding a couple of times, and this typically happens when a police officer is parked on the side of the road, either hiding their car behind like a bush, a sign, or something else so that you can't see them sitting there watching for speeders. Generally, the police officer will pull behind you and then issue a ticket once you stop if they deem it necessary. Now, I've also been pulled over once in Germany, but it wasn't actually for speeding, and partially that's because German police officers don't generally patrol the streets or hide out to catch you speeding like American police do. When we first moved here, I rented a car locally, and as I was leaving the shop, the woman working ran after me and said, "Oh, just a warning, they just put a blitzer on the Autobahn." I said, what? She said, "A blitzer." And I said, what? We both were so confused. She not understanding why I didn't understand, and I not understanding what the heck a blitzer was. Germany controls speeds on all road types with cameras and radar rather than an actual police officer patrolling, generally speaking. These cameras can be permanent or portable, they can be disguised or somewhat obvious, but there are hidden cameras all over Germany waiting for you to speed by so we can snap your picture, and it'll let you know you have a ticket coming with its bright flash. You then receive your ticket a few weeks later in the mail, which will have your lovely candid photo on it, a photo of your license plate, and all the information you need to pay for your fine. It's actually pretty convenient. What's the most annoying thing about driving in Germany? When you're driving and suddenly someone slams on their brakes in front of you. Well, this happens everywhere. It's not specifically just a German thing, but it happens a lot in Germany when someone sees this. You may say this looks a lot like the blitzers you find in Germany, and you would be correct, but that's not what this is. Okay, I need to come clean and admit that I am a recovering brake slammer. When I saw these, and actually it was you guys in a previous video's comment section who taught me this because I used to think it was a blitzer. In fact, these blue towers are actually toll collectors. Now, the next driving difference in Germany and the US isn't going to make sense when I tell you that our driving experience is made more pleasant by the fact that there aren't tolls that we have to pay, unlike in Oklahoma, where we did have to pay tolls. Wait, we don't have to pay tolls here, but there are toll collecting machines? In Oklahoma, most roads and highways are free to drive on. They are paid for via taxes from all citizens, but we also have a few turnpikes that cross the state and are some of the quickest connections between important economic parts of the state. To drive on these, you must pay a toll, and this is what funds those roads. These roads are paid for specifically only by those motorists that use them, and they do not receive any additional government funding. Previously, the turnpikes had little roadside stations where you can pay your toll, but these are being replaced by a system that will read your license plate and send you a bill in the mail later on. The 86-mile journey on the Turner Turnpike between Oklahoma City and Tulsa will now cost a 2-axle vehicle $8.75 for a one-way trip, or roughly 10 cents per mile you drive. Technically, there are other routes that you can take, like the historic Route 66 in fact, which will not cost anything, but it will make your trip quite a bit slower. But you would get to visit famous Route 66 sites like the Round Barn in Arcadia, which was built to be impervious to tornadoes because of its shape. It's not. But despite neighbors like France having toll roads or Austria and Switzerland with their vignette system, you can freely cruise in Germany without paying a dime. Well, a dime for the roads. You still have to pay for gas and such. The one main exception being vehicles over 3.5 tons who do have to pay a toll based on weights and emissions. The tolls can range from around 14 cents per kilometer to around 50 cents per kilometer depending on the specs of the vehicle, and the blue towers collect that toll from those large lorries. But for most of everybody who drives in Germany, you are allowed to cruise freely and quickly without having to stop your trip to pay for annoying tolls. Instead, you just have to stop for annoying construction projects that never end. So please, for the love of everything that is holy, stop slamming on your brakes for the toll towers thinking you're going to get blitzed. Germans have a particular fondness when it comes to rules and enforcing them. Except for here on the Autobahn, where you can drive however fast you want. And it's statements like this that makes Germans concerned about Americans driving in Germany. Foreigners hear of the famous fact that the Autobahn has no speed limit and can't wait to see it in action or drive on it to see if they can brave topping out speeds they could never legally get away with in their home country. Well, first, a majority of the Autobahn doesn't have speed limits, but not the entire thing. There are massive sections that do have a speed limit. If you see a white circle sign with black lines across it, this means it is the end of a zone. This could be the end of a no passing zone, or in the case of the no speed limit zones on the Autobahn, the end of a speed zone, obviously. And here you technically are allowed to drive as fast as you would deem safe. However, there is still a recommended speed limit of 130 kilometers per hour. And one of the most important rules, you are supposed to drive in the farthest right lane possible until you need to pass, and then you only pass on the left. Now, technically, in the US, you are supposed to also pass only on the left, just like it is law in, for example, Oklahoma. But this isn't always adhered to. In fact, I would say it is surprising to most of our friends and family who visit us, just like it was for us when we first moved here, that Germans adhere to this so religiously. In Oklahoma, you'll have people just sitting in the left lane impeding traffic and without a care in the world, making driving on the highway significantly more frustrating. But still, at surface level, one would look at the idea that there are no speed limits on the Autobahn and say that it must be more dangerous and more stressful to drive on, but that is definitely wrong in my opinion. In Oklahoma, cars will be flying past you on your left or on your right, and it doesn't really matter. So you constantly have to be on edge watching for where someone might be sneaking up on you from all sides. In Germany, because there could be someone coming at Mach speed at any moment, you move to the far right and you theoretically know that a car will come on your left there passing, and there are no worries. In fact, if you look at some countries with speed limits in place, there are quite a few who still have a higher deaths per month rate on highways than Germany, including the US. So technically, you're supposed used to be safer driving on German highways than American highways. Now, there are obviously tons of other differences in driving between the US and Germany, so if you didn't see one you thought of in this video, leave it in the comments and I might do a part 2 video if you all would like it. But to see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is der or das ketchup? Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in my next video. I had no audio on my recording of this video, so now I gotta redo the whole thing. Here we go. No, really, Oklahomans actually debate this all the time. No, really, Oklahomans actually debate this all. Show montage of zippers ending with a person standing by the camera, zipping up a jacket, looking out the corner of eye. Okay, let's hope the audio worked that time.